All right, hello again and happy Friday. Congratulations, you've made it through an entire week of distance learning. I'm certainly feeling accomplished. That was a lot of work for me to have to change everything to online and just use all these new resources. And I'm sure it was even more work for you guys because on your side, you're the ones having to balance all these different classes and figure out each teacher's system. So I'm proud of you. I've seen a ton of work turned in, a ton of people active in the discussion area, and I am just beyond pleased with how you guys have transitioned. So we'll keep going strong. This is the last section of adjectives formally. Next week we'll be doing a lot of reviewing, kind of how we normally would review, just going through practice opportunities and different activities to kind of test our knowledge on the different parts of adjectives. And then I'm going to open up a test window probably at the end of next week, but I will figure all that out this weekend and keep you updated on that. So today we are doing Adjectives 1.6. It's a fairly short video just because it's not a huge concept. The goal is just to be able to recognize and use verbs when they are used as adjectives. So same trend as before, part of speech being used as an adjective. So we have actually already talked about this. I talked about this at the very end of the verbs unit, literally the day or two before your test. Back in the days where I could actually stand in front of you and teach you things. So hopefully you remember when I taught you about how adjectives sometimes disguise themselves as verbs. And I was like, hey guys, when you're looking through on your test, and I ask you to underline the verb, don't underline this verb that you think is a verb. It's actually an adjective. And you guys are like, what the heck? So shook. And so now we're gonna delve into that a little bit more. So here's the example I believe I used in class or something similar to it. The cheering fans stood up in the bleachers, and I was like, you guys, cheering is not the verb here. It looks like a verb. I know that cheer is a verb, but the fans aren't, we're not saying the fans are cheering, we're saying they're standing up. So stood is your verb. And everybody was like, whoa, that's crazy. Well, now what I want you to focus on is actually that adjective cheering, because I want you to be able to know that sometimes adjectives look like verbs. So an adjective, my brain just lost motivation there. An adjective is used to describe or modify nouns. So in this sentence, the adjective cheering is modifying the noun fans, kind of giving us a better, more specific visual of what these fans are looking like as they are standing up in the bleachers. And this happens all the time with verbs. So many words that look like verbs can function as adjectives in sentences. So we usually see this with verbs that end in ing or ed, and this is what this looks like. So if we look at the words used as verbs here, the owl was sitting still, okay? Was sitting, that is a verb phrase like we learned about last unit. That is sitting being used as a verb. Same with melted. The ice melted in the sun. The ice is actually doing the melting. We're saying the ice melted, it's doing something. That's how we know it's being used as a verb. On the other side over here, we have these very same words being used as adjectives. So the sitting owl was still. Well, now we're describing the owl as sitting, and our verb comes afterward, right? The sitting owl described, was still. So our verb is was, and our adjective is sitting. The melted ice was in the sun. So now melted is an adjective to describe ice, and was in is our verb phrase. So don't get that twisted, right? Look at the noun, that main noun in the sentence, and think, okay, is the word what the noun is doing, or is the word describing, okay? And typically with sentences like these, you see the verb coming after the noun. So you're like, wait, there's already a verb in there. I don't need this to be a verb too, right? And then you can make that connection that this is actually a describing word. And same down here. All right, so here's your pause and think already, just because that's all I have to teach you today. So if you look at the underlined word, and now I'm realizing that I've put the answers in the slide. It's been a long week, folks. It's been a long week. So we'll just go through it instead of doing it as a pause and think. So number one, competing soccer players often have great endurance. Competing is being used as an adjective here to describe the players. Number two, protected species are closely watched by the Wildlife Association. That is protected, describing species. We're not saying that the species are doing some sort of protecting, we're describing them as protected. Number three, at night, peacocks usually sleep in high tree branches. So here, the peacocks are sleeping. That is a verb. Number four, the sleeping children, I wanted to kind of trip you up, use the same word. The sleeping children would eventually be awoken by their mom's vacuuming. That was literally my entire childhood. But so then here we have sleeping, describing children. And then five, I have always played in the summer tournament. So this is I played, I am doing the playing. I'm not being described as a player or playing. It's saying that I have played. So it's a verb there. All right, sorry you couldn't get like the legit practice with that, but I feel like you guys should know this just because we have talked about it before a little bit. All right, so here's what's due today. Today, the only thing that is actually due is a flip grid for what I am calling Flip Grid Friday. And I'm doing this because I feel like since we're not doing like Zoom sessions or any sort of like face-to-face interaction in my class specifically, I want you guys to have an opportunity to see each other's faces or at the very least hear each other's voices. So we're going to use a little website called Flipgrid. And just to be very clear, there's no other task today due. It's just the Flipgrid Friday. So let me back out of here and show you Flipgrid. So if we go to materials and we go to Friday, Flipgrid Friday is the only thing in there. Well, the video will be in there once I upload it, but Flipgrid is the only assignment thing. What's nice about Flipgrid is it actually like embeds into the website. You don't have to like go to a separate page. So the password for a Flipgrid, it's in the title literally, so you always have access to it. It's Holloway-9. Hit let's go. Here's our Flipgrid page. I honestly am not sure if you have to make an account, but if you do, just use your Google account, right? Use your Google Gmail that you use for everything. And once you make the account, you should be able to go to this nice little plus and make your Flipgrid. Mine is right here. And the questions you are answering are these. You're telling me, how do you feel about distance learning so far? What has been the biggest challenge and what has been the biggest positive? And then you are telling me what your plans are for the weekend using 3 adjectives to describe your plans. So let me just show you a little bit of mine. All right, hello everyone, and welcome to your very first Flipgrid Friday. I'm literally wearing that same thing. Anyway, so the rest of it is me answering the questions that are actually in the Flipgrid. And then once you post it, it will pop up right next to mine like this. It'll say Miss Holloway, Mohammed, Khalid, all these different names, and we can all look at each other's. And what's fun about this is I didn't like split it up like by class, so you'll be able to see everybody's. So if you have like good friends in other classes other classes that you haven't been able to talk to, you can see their little Flipgrid and see their face and hear their voice. I think that's nice. I think that we need that. It's hard to just do everything behind a screen. So again, this is the only thing you're doing today, minute and 30 seconds of your life, and then you are free for the weekend. So please, please, please do it. Okay. Let me know if you have questions.